All right, in topic 7-2, they want us to find a common denominator and write equivalent fractions with the common denominator. Now go ahead and push pause and go ahead and write all 6 of these problems. Now, in order to find a common denominator, which is the only rule you need to know when adding or subtracting fractions, is you need to find the multiples of each denominator. For instance, 2/5, the denominator is 5. The denominator or the multiples are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, and so on. The multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, so on. Now for me, a lot of times the easiest way to come up with a common denominator, sometimes it's not the smallest denominator, and sometimes it is just take your 2 denominators and multiply them. 6 times 5 is 30. It just so happens that 30 is the least common denominator. You could also use 60, 90, and so forth. So, in order to find an equivalent fraction, write equal signs, write your common denominator, 30. Now, how do I go from 6 to 30? Well, you multiply 5. So really, we're multiplying by 5/5. Because what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 1 times 5 is 5. To get from 5 to 6, we multiply by 6. And what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And vice versa. We're really multiplying 2/5 by 6/6. Which gives us 12/30. And circle our equivalent fractions with common denominators. That's all you need to do. Now let's go ahead and do 5/8 and 3/4. Go ahead and push pause and see if you come up with the same common denominator and equivalent fractions as I do. All right, so we have 5/8. And you have 3/4. Now, obviously, they are not denominators, but 8 times 4 is 32. That is a common denominator. So is 24. So is 16. But the least common denominator that 8 and 4 could both go into is 8 itself. So, in order to get 8, we had to multiply 4 by 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And we did 1, we can multiply by 1 or 1 once. 5 times 1 is 5. So our common denominators, our equivalent fractions with the common denominator are 5/8 and 6/8. Did you get that? Great job.
Whoa. It's impossible to open. Okay, come on, baby. Come on now. Thank you. Probably loosened it up for you, though.
Now go ahead and do this problem and see if you come up with the same thing as I do. Okay, so we have 3/10 and we have 9/8. They want us to come up with a common denominator. If we did 10 times 8, that would definitely be 80. That would be a common denominator. But I always like the smaller. There's a smaller one. So if we did the multiples of 10, 8 can't go into 10. What about 20? 8 can't go into 20. What about 30? 8 cannot go into 30 evenly. 40. Yep, 40 you can. So I'm going to use 40. And 8 times 5 gives us 40. So what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. We're really multiplying it by 5/5. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. 9 times 5 is 45. I know it's an improper fraction, but we're still finding a common denominator. 10 times 4 is 40. 3 times 4 is 12. So our equivalent fractions with a common denominator are 12/40ths and 45/40ths. Did you get that? Great job.
Whoa. It's impossible to open. Okay, come on, baby. Come on now. Thank you. Probably loosened it up for you, though.
All right, go ahead and push pause and let's do this problem. Okay, so we have 5/12 and we have 3/5. So we have to find a common denominator that 5 and 12 both go into. Well, 5 can't go into 12. We go 24. 5 can't go into 24. 36. 5 can't go into 36. 48. 5 can't go into 48. 60. Well, 12 times 5 is 60, and that happens to be the least common denominator. The next one would be 120. So in order to go from 5 to 6, we would have to multiply it by 12. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 12/12. 3 times 12 is 36. And 12 times 5 gives us 60. So we multiply the top by 5. 5 times 5 is 25. So we have 25/60ths and 36/60ths. Those are equivalent fractions with a common denominator. Did you get that? Awesome!
Whoa. It's impossible to open. Okay, come on, baby. Come on now. Thank you. Probably loosened it up for you, though.
All right, go ahead and do this problem, 7/9 and 2/3. Go ahead and push pause and see if you come up with the same thing as I do. Okay, so we have 7/9. We have 2/3. Obviously, they're not a common denominator. Now, we could do 9 times 3, which is 27, but there's a smaller one. You do the multiples of 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. Up, there's 9. So 9 would be the least common denominator that 3 and 9 both go into. 3 times 3 is 9, which you do to the bottom, you do to the top, 3/3. 2 times 3 is 6. 9 times 1, 7 times 1 is 7. And so there are our two equivalent fractions with common denominators, 7/9 and 6/9. Did you get that? Great job!
Whoa. It's impossible to open. Okay, come on, baby. Come on now. Thank you. Probably loosened it up for you, though.
Now go ahead and do your last one. Go ahead and push pause. All right, so we've got 3/8 and we've got 9/20. Now, if we took the denominators and multiplied them, 8 times 20 is 160. That's a huge denominator. Let's see if we can't find a smaller one before we use that. Well, We could start by using the multiples of 8, or we can use the multiples of 20, whichever one. 8 times 2 is 16, 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32, 8 times 5 is 40. Oh, 20 can go into 40, so that is going to be our common denominator. And it is the least common denominator, the smallest, that both 8 and 20 can go into. So 20 times 2, which you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 9 times 2 is 18. 8 times 5 is 40, which you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 3 times 5 is 15. So our new equivalent fractions with common denominators are 15/40ths and 18/40ths. And circle our answers. There you go. That's it. That's all you have to do is hopefully be able to find a common denominator and show the equivalent fraction with the new common denominator. See you tomorrow.
Whoa. It's impossible to open. Okay, come on, baby. Come on now. Thank you. Probably loosened it up for you, though.